So it is Tuesday morning, June 10th, and Nintendo decided, hey, let's do something weird. You know, it's been kind of quiet the past few days. It's not like we just launched a new system or anything like that. Let's get a little bit weird. Let's not only announce a large update for a Nintendo Switch 1 game that you can play on the Nintendo Switch 2 that will be receiving Switch 2 enhancement features, but let's also talk about a brand new game in this franchise that will be coming to the Nintendo Switch 2, and this is the first we've heard about it because, I mean, that makes all the sense in the world, but there are implications of doing this as well that I also want to talk about because the sun may be setting on something that many people were anticipating would happen for Nintendo this month. So let's just hop straight into it. Hit that subscribe button if you are new. But obviously, Splatoon is a large Nintendo franchise, and it has been very successful for Nintendo. Kind of their take on the shooter genre. You're a kid now. You're a squid now. But Splatoon 3 is getting a massive update for the Nintendo Switch and by extension Nintendo Switch 2 on June 12th. The update includes the Splatlands collection consisting of new weapons. There are a total of 30 new weapons in this different collection that is coming. There's also a new stage that's actually from the Wii U Splatoon game, Urchin Underpass. That is coming to the game as well. There are new badges within the game. There's a new stat in the game as well. But here's what is probably the most interesting thing is that for this patch on June 12th, the Nintendo Switch 2, if you play the game on the Nintendo Switch 2, you actually get a visual fidelity update and smoother frames per second. So a bit of a graphical update for the game on the Nintendo Switch 2. And of course, you can also do cross-play between the Switch 1 and the Switch 2 for the online portion of this game. Now, that is a very beefy update to just be dropping. I'm going to assume this is a free update. Yes, it actually is a free update. If RGT could read, he would probably be very deadly. But this is a large update. You know, 30 new weapons, a new level, you know, new badges, new different types of things. But I think that Switch 2 mode is going to be interesting to see how the game performs versus the Switch 1 version of the game. And you kind of also got to imagine, like, there could be a slight advantage for people playing on the Nintendo Switch 2 versus the Nintendo Switch 1 because of things like game chat. You know, you could just bust open game chat and then talk with your friends and actually strategize. I guess you can use your cell phone application as well, but I don't feel like many people are using that. So like I said, that will be coming out on June 12th. So literally 2 days from now, they're doing this massive Splatoon 3 update. I'll be honest with you, I have not touched Splatoon 3 in a very long time. Like, Splatoon is fine. It's fun. I like it in little increments, but it's definitely not something that I play for extended periods of time or anything like that. There is some fun to be had, but the other thing is definitely a bit more interesting. And Nintendo basically said, hey, there's a new Splatoon spin-off game coming to the Nintendo Switch 2, and it's called Splatoon Raiders. And unlike all of the other Splatoon games, which have been primarily focused on the online multiplayer experience, this is actually going to be a adventure game, a single player adventure game. Now, there is no word if there is going to be any sort of online component. You basically go through like these mysterious areas as a mechanic and stuff. It was kind of light on details, obviously no release date or anything like that, but this is a pretty sizable announcement because, I mean, this is the first time we've heard about this game. Now, it was originally announced on the new cell phone app you could get, the Nintendo Today app, but I guess this was so big that they wanted to also put it on Twitter. It's kind of funny because Nintendo themselves have actually blocked a Twitter account who was sharing what was on the Nintendo Today cell phone app. They hit them with a DMCA because, oh no, more people might get information on what we're doing with the Nintendo brand and the Nintendo Switch 2. The horror of what that could be. But I think this has a lot of potential. You know, the single player aspect of Splatoon has definitely been kind of on the back burner. You know, essentially, it's just like a tutorial. I know that they do some other things like the DLC, and they do have a single player mode, but it never really felt fleshed out. I think this actually sounds a bit more interesting as far as what they can do with the game to sort of, you know, shift it from just that multiplayer aspect to a single player aspect. So this is a large announcement as well. You know, announcing a new game is obviously something very big, but with all of that being said, now people are looking at this and they're like, well, wait a minute. Shouldn't this have been in a June Nintendo Direct? And if so, does this mean that there is not going to be a June Nintendo Direct? And I think that's a very interesting conversation to have. And I mean, we're going to have that conversation now because this obviously would be a large focal point of a June Nintendo Direct, in my opinion. Splatoon is one of those higher tier franchises for Nintendo and definitely feels like something that would be a focal point of a direct presentation. I mean, think about how Splatoon 3 was kind of rolled out with some of these directs, and it was always kind of a big marquee announcement during these. Now, many people are expecting a June Nintendo Direct because of the fact that there are still quite a few games that are slotted for 2025 that do not have release dates. Of course, you know, we know about a few first-party games, but these kind of felt like things that were just to hold you over, aside from, I guess, Mario Kart, but more so things to hold you over until, like, your larger franchises, you know, your 3D Mario or something like that, was at least first unveiled. But by announcing this game randomly on a Tuesday morning, it's definitely diminishing people's thoughts that there is going to be a June Nintendo Direct. Now, honestly, I don't know how I feel about that, because I do think that it is kind of a 50-50 chance, because, I mean, they did want to talk about this Splatoon 3 update, of course, adding in the Nintendo Switch 2 features into it as well, and maybe they felt that that in and of itself wasn't going to be a big enough announcement, so they also threw in the Splatoon new game called Splatoon Raiders when they made this presentation. And I mean, that's a possibility, and this is also a style of game, a type of game, since it is a single player focused experience that you could announce now and then elaborate on during a Nintendo Direct. But like I said, Splatoon is such a big franchise that it feels like if there was going to be a June Direct, you would talk about it at that, not on a random Tuesday morning. So maybe there isn't a June Nintendo Direct. Maybe Nintendo's just going to use that Nintendo Today app to give out information and then hope that people talk about it online, because God forbid you share that Nintendo Today account. It's so weird to me, dude. It's like, it's publicity. It's marketing. You still have your app. People are still going to the app. People still have the app on their cell phone. What's the big deal if they consume the information on something else? Like, a lot of people don't check that. I never check that app. Like, I have it, but I never really look at it. I understand there are some interesting things that pop up on there, but I don't know, man. I don't know. I would love a June Nintendo Direct, and I think there is still a place for one, especially because the other mentality with this is that there's so much stuff in this potential Direct that Nintendo felt, hey, you know, this is a spin-off game. You know, we could just announce it now. No big deal. We'll give people an update later on, because they have so many games, both first and third party, that they want to cover in the June Direct. I don't know, man. I think it's a coin flip at this point in time. I wouldn't be surprised if there was one, but I'm also not necessarily expecting one either. Although I would like for there to be one. I would rather know about, you know, a lot of games than kind of have to pick and choose what I need to know about. And I feel like there's a lot of third-party games that are just kind of sitting there waiting to be announced, waiting to be revealed for the Switch 2. And for whatever reason, Nintendo is just like, hey, you gotta wait a little bit. You gotta wait a little bit for this first round of games, and then we'll start talking about your games. Let me know in the comments section down below, though. What do you think of this strategy of just kind of coming out of nowhere and being like, hey, there's a new Splatoon game, and there's a big-ass update coming to Splatoon 3, and it also has a Switch 2 graphical update? And do you think this kind of diminishes the potential for a June Nintendo Direct? And as always, guys, thank you for checking out this video. If you are new to the channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Be sure to like, comment, and share. Hit the bell as well. And as always, I'll catch you guys on the next video. Later.